Welcome. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalists of Transylvania County. It is so good to see so many folks here, some of faces that I haven't seen before, or at least I don't remember seeing before, and some folks who have been here on and on and on. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. And to those who are watching online, thank you for joining us this morning. Perhaps, Dad, you're sitting there with a mug of coffee, surrounded by kids and enjoying the day. Hope so. We have a few announcements this morning. One is that tomorrow is Juneteenth. Since the 1930s in Texas, since 2021, declared by the President in this United States as a whole, Juneteenth has become a holiday and observance to recognize the time in which, when the Union General got into Texas, declared the slaves there free. Even though that had been declared in the Emancipation Proclamation, it didn't actually occur until the Union Army showed up. And so Juneteenth is now a holiday. And so please don't call us tomorrow, because we will be honoring that holiday. Thanks. There was a slide up and has been for some time, but now we're just 3 months away, 90 days away from our UUTC great retreat at the mountain. This is something that I'd encourage all of you to do. At the end of the pandemic, we had a small, hearty gathering of folks who went off to spend their time at the mountain. And I would love for all of us to show up. We will once again lead worship from there. The weekend after the Labor Day weekend is when this is occurring. So the people who come here will only get to see it on the screen. The real worship will be happening down there. Or the live worship. It's still real if you're watching online. All right. I want to say that I am away for the Unitarian Universalist General Assembly starting tomorrow morning at dawn. I get in the car and drive to Pittsburgh, carpool with another UU minister from North Carolina, and we'll spend the whole week and all the way through next Sunday as well. So we will have Kevin leading the service next week, and it'll be the flower communion. So each person brings a flower, and we have that ceremony. We hope the children will be present to help out and be part of it as well. During the time that I'm away, the toll-free pastoral care line will be monitored by a member of the LHHH care team. I will still get emails and phone calls. They do have cell phone service in Pittsburgh, but my phone is likely to be silenced during much of the time due to our worship services, workshops, and business meetings. Those were the announcements that I could think of. Was there something important I forgot? I definitely needed to be reminded of that. That is when, the ceremony on Wednesday for the solstice, for the brand new gardens, newly planted gardens, dedication. So please come on out and enjoy. Yeah, Jim. Yes, for those of you who didn't see the sign in the lobby or haven't read your newsletters and paid attention, yes, another memorial service here. Today, 2 o'clock, greet the family, be able to share stories. There's only 15 minutes of sharing time in the service. So they want to hear your stories. So come and share your stories. And then 3 o'clock is the service. Is that what you were raising your hand about, Jim? Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Thank you all. And I will turn now to our candles of joy and sorrow. When we enter the room, we come with all sorts of things on our minds, in our hearts. Sometimes we need to share burdens, sometimes we need to share joys. We've got a couple of candles already going here, and we have cards already filled out, and I will call on folks if you have more to share. Bob and Mary Bennett have lit a candle of eternal thanks to those who tended to their 2 dogs during the time of Mary's illness. Victoria, Howie, Alex, Ian, and R.K. Young for arranging all of it. So that's a wonderful candle. The candle we already have lit from Victoria, candle remembrance for all the dads no longer with us except in our hearts. Are there more to share? Alice.
I have a gift from the congregation for Reverend Bob in honor of both Father's Day and Pride Month. What happened was after the installation, members of the Gay Men's Chorus said to me that they were shocked. They were shocked that Reverend Bob would not have the appropriate equipment for their fan favorite girl, Dominatory Girl's Best Friend. Those of you who were here noticed that. They strongly recommended that the congregation take care of that. So, with the help of Jim and Alice Harding, Alice shopped tirelessly to find exactly I'm presenting this to you in honor of Father's Day and Pride Month.
In honor of Father's Day and Pride Month, with the long explanation those of you online didn't hear, when the Gay Men's Chorus was here, I'll abbreviate, when the Gay Men's Chorus is here, we were all supposed to be wearing our bling, and I didn't have any. I will say that if you had given this to me on my installation day, it might have been just a little over the top. But I will proudly wear it at this exact moment. And I will say that being a father, especially when my children are younger, I would show up at the church office and I would have little stickers all over my suit. I would have drawings in my briefcase made of, out of crayon drawings. I would have all sorts of things. So I am completely comfortable showing up with odd things to wear at church. Thank you, Alice, and thank you, everyone who got me bling.
They'll love it at GA.
Oh, you think I should pack it and wear it through the hallways? Well, you can imagine that I'll do that. It would be really hard for me to accept a candle of sorrow with this on, so I'm going to take it off. But a candle of joy, I'd put it back on again. Is there anything else people would like to share?
Our friend Don Whitney has been sharing with you her life ended in Switzerland when she mourned. In a garden with her music, and she did it her way.
Yeah. So for Rick and Philip's friend Donna, who had ended her life her way in a garden in Switzerland this week. Let's keep all of these in our hearts, and for those of you who are online, if you are signed in, you can write into a chat box the things that you want to lift up, and we can meet and greet each other in coffee hour and learn more about each other's lives. Now at this time I ask that you turn to one another and greet the people around you.
The opening words are the Psalm 98. Shout praise, all earth, break into music and song. Praise the Eternal with lyre and song. Let the sea and all within it thunder praise, the world and its inhabitants. Let rivers clap their hands, let mountains sing in chorus. Oh, sing a new song to the Eternal. Now, please stand as you're able to sing our opening hymn, number 361, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. Thank you. The chalice lighting is by Christine Robinson. It's in unison and the words will be on the screen. We gather this hour as people of faith with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning in celebration of the life we share together.
The tiara works for this next section of our service, too. So for our Wisdom for All Ages, I have gratefully received a collection of dad jokes from people in the congregation, things that I saw and read. In order not to disparage the people who sent me these, I will not name the people who gave me these jokes. I also looked up some, and Christy's quite sure that many of these were in the AARP bulletin, so hey, I'm not the only one who collects such things. So here we go. What do you call a cow with no legs? Ground beef. Yeah, these are moaners. A lot of these are moaners. What's orange and sounds like a parrot? A carrot. Why do seagulls fly over the ocean? Because if they flew over the bay, we'd call them bagels. I know. What does a vegetarian zombie eat? Grains. Now, some of you are not into zombies, but omnivore zombie would be going for brains, but not a vegetarian one. How do you compliment a farmer? Tell them that they are really outstanding in their field. All right, so those are the types of jokes that a dad might tell and everybody moans and giggles over. All right, now let's have some that are about dads. Here we go. Steve Martin told this joke. A father carries pictures in his wallet where his money used to be. Is that, see, AARP, somebody who fed me these red AARP. There we go. Conan O'Brien sent this one. Buying your kid a goldfish is a great way to teach them about responsibility for 24 to 36 hours. Stuart Francis said, even though I'm proud my dad invented the rear view mirror, we're not as close as we appear. And there's another one. I used to hate facial hair, but then it grew on me. I don't know this person. Jim Gaffigan wrote, there should be a children's song. If you're happy and you know it, keep it to yourself and let dad sleep. Okay. Jerry Seinfeld said, you can tell what was the best year of your father's life because they seem to freeze that clothing style and ride it out. Mark Twain had said something along these lines, although this sounds paraphrased. When I was a boy of 14, my father was so ignorant I could hardly stand to have the old man around. But when I got to be 21, I was astonished at how much the old man had learned in 7 years. Colin Hanks said, and these next couple are about, how come nobody teaches us how to be parents? There's no real class. They don't check to make sure you're prepared. I had to go through more training to drive the car home from the hospital than I did to have a baby for the rest of my life. Will Ferrell said this, for fatherhood advice, try to look your child in the eye. Get to know their name. That becomes important when you want something. And remember to feed them. That's about all you need. Now I have some mean ones. You ready for some mean ones? Conan O'Brien again. I just taught my kids about taxes by eating 38% of their ice cream. Here's another mean one. My wife said I should do lunges to stay in shape. That would be a big step forward. A child asks, Dad, can you put my shoes on? Dad's response, no, I don't think they'll fit me. Now here's a sporting one. Why do fathers take an extra pair of socks when they go golfing? In case they get a hole in one. And to end it all, this one. When does a joke become a dad joke? When it becomes apparent. Moan. This worked for that. Yeah. All right. We have the opportunity to give money to good causes, give money to this congregation. We have posted every month a new organization that we support, and I gratefully accepted Bobby King's enthusiastic offer to come and talk about this month's special collection.
Thank you, Bob. Good morning. Can you imagine not being able to read? I'm guessing that Unitarians in general, and particularly this congregation, probably read more books than the average American. And I know I cannot go to sleep at night without reading something from a book or a pamphlet or a newspaper. I don't know what I'd do. Fortunately, or unfortunately, when I was in the first grade, my teacher could not teach me how to read, so my mother stepped up and filled that void and taught me to read, and today I am a voracious reader. If she had not been there, like with a lot of children whose parents either don't have time, who are not educated, can't read, they're really in a pickle. As Bob said, today's special offering is for the Augustine Literacy Project, which works with kids, with tutors, trained tutors, helping these kids learn how to read in one-on-one tutoring sessions. They do this throughout the Transylvania schools, both in Brevard and in Rosman. Why do we need the Augustine Literacy Project? Well, there's all types of statistics. I'm just going to share a few with you. We know that children who are not reading proficiently by the 4th grade are 4 times more likely to drop out of high school. We know that 85% of the children in the juvenile justice system are functionally illiterate, 85%. We know that 82% of the children who are on free or reduced lunch programs are behind in reading. Those are staggering numbers. Now, our country has grappled with all types of educational issues for as long as I can remember. Racial disparities in the school, segregation, fights over teacher pay, debates over curriculum, all of these things have been around. And yet, in the past few years, we have faced unprecedented challenge. We've just gone through a pandemic that put our kids behind, put tremendous pressure on families. Parents had to stay home with their kids, put pressure on teachers. It was really a difficult time. And as a result, reading scores and a lot of other academic measures dropped significantly. We've also had the problems with social media. We have the educational culture wars where we have extremists threatening to take over our schools. We have children with more mental health and depression type problems. So what do? Well, as Unitarians, we act. We get involved. There are people in this room today and others who are going to school board meetings. They're organizing politically to save our educational system. We need to be doing these same things, and we need to be supporting them. Probably one of the easiest things that we can do is give. And programs like the Augustine Literacy Project need money in order to survive. Last year, the project served 26 children in the Transylvania County schools, which is not a huge number, but most of these kids improved like for a grade level, which is fairly significant. I know that the Augustine method works. Several years ago, some folks that you know, Carol Moore, Heather Layton, Pedro Sandine, and myself, all attended an information session here at UTC, and we decided that we wanted to go through the training. And it was indeed very rigorous training, and we had to pay to go through the training, but it was worth it. The child that I worked with improved by an entire year in his reading level in 1 year. And I will say very quickly, it was not because I'm a great tutor, it was because I was well trained, I was given tremendous materials to work with, and had a lot of support from the Augustine team. Probably, it's been estimated, Wendy Adair, by the way, is the executive director of the Augustine Literacy Project, and I had a conversation with her the other day, and she said that on the average, a child improves by 1 grade level after 40 or 50 lessons. Now, to put that in perspective, we have millions of children around the country that don't improve by 1 grade level, going to school 180 days a year, year-round for 3 or 4 years, and may not do 1 grade level in 3 or 4 years, okay? So that says something about the value of this one-on-one tutoring. So I urge you to give generously to this. Again, giving money is one of the easiest things we can do. And when I was talking to Wendy before I closed, I said, you know, is there anything else I should tell people? And Wendy's a very direct person. She sort of talking very quietly because she knew I was asking for money. But she said, you know what? We need tutors, okay? We can have all the money in the world, and they have great materials, but we need tutors. So I'm also asking you to consider that, okay? The training takes some time, but the one-on-one tutoring doesn't take that much time, and it can make a huge difference in the lives of these children. I am hoping that sometime in the next month or so, we can have a tutor information session here that would not obligate anybody, but if you're willing to come and just learn about the Augustine system, and I'm not just talking about UUTC folks, I'm talking about people in the community also. But it's something where we could make a huge difference. And by the way, I talked to Pedro yesterday. Many of y'all remember him. Great man, great teacher, great author. He is now affiliated with Unitarian Church, and I think it's called Pittsburgh or Petersburg, New Hampshire. I didn't get the name exactly right, but he said, please tell the fine folks at UUTC, you know, how much I miss and love them. So that's from Pedro. If you'd like any information about this, you can call me or talk to me afterwards, and I'll be glad to share what I know about Augustine. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bobby. Thank you to all of you who've taken this time to write big, huge checks to put into the envelope in the collection basket, or thinking about doing a donation. We will now receive the morning offering. Thank you, Alice. Thank you, Bonnie. For all that is given with love, we receive with great joy. And we say, thank you. I invite you into this moment of meditation and prayer. Spirit of love and life, we who are gathered here, online and in person, Bring with us in our hearts all the joys and the sorrows, all of our hopes. We bring to this place our anxieties and hope for release. We bring to this place our sense of justice with hope for others to join in our hand to hand in ways that uplift the values we hold. Oh, dear Spirit of love and life, may we know the love that is here and among us. May we share that. We grieve this morning for the loss of fathers. Fathers no longer with us. And for fathers who were not with us when we needed them. We give honor and thanks for those who have helped parent our ways, of whatever gender, who helped recognize in us something that made us lift our heads a little higher to the goals of life, and knowing from all of that love that we were worth something. Spirit of love and life, we also come with eternal thanks for all of those who give, who are helpers along the way. On this morning, on this weekend, very busy weekend, we thank all who bring food, prepare coffee, set chairs, usher, and do all that's needed as we reach the moment of saying goodbye to the members of this congregation in our memorial services. We also lift up in particular this morning those who helped Bob and Mary and their dogs through the troubling time of her health issues. This is proof of community. This is proof of our values and our mission and our love. We also have our hearts out to Philip and Rick in knowing their friends Donna's passing at her own plan and rate and decision. May the glow of these candles here today, may the prayers of our hearts and the thoughts of our minds be held now in the silence. In the names of all those known and unknown, remembered and forgotten, in the names of all the helpers of humankind, we say amen. Blessed be. I will admit that I am somewhat nervous of bringing forward this poetry in that it is selfish of me. It is an honor to my father to have had him share poems with me and give me permission to use them in a sermon if I felt I needed to. Now, I don't have permission to hand them out, publish them, or anything like that, but I'm grateful to have had this to carry on after my dad's death. This particular poem was written by my dad, remembering back to the Great Depression when he was a child. He titled it, "The Day My Father Brought the Ferry Back." The memory washes in and out of my mind the way the sea slips and slaps against the pilings in Bridgeport Harbor. I was 3 or 4. In those days, cars had running boards and doctors made house calls. One of my father's patients had made us late for the usual weekend trip to Grandma's house. As we drove on the dock, the Park City ferry swung her bow for the harbor's mouth, and tears streaking my face. My father got out to shout and wave, and like a puppet strung to his hand, the boat came back. 50 years later, my mother told the whole of it. The depression, my father struggling to start a practice here, the slow going and treating a few patients across the Sound on weekends to pay the rent. The captain of the ferry had a back so bad that he could hardly walk. He stood at the wheel only through the magic in my father's healing hands. But on the pier that day, as my tears dried and the great whistle blew, echoing gratitude across the channel and vibrating my bones with a belly-deep sound, I only knew that my father's beckon had turned a boat around as we stood hand in hand, watching his ship come in. That won a first prize. And my dad said it was to be turned into a greeting card as well. Father's Day. I wanted to preach on Father's Day. The dad jokes, yeah. The idea of how in the world do we become a parent? It's not well trained, especially if what's been handed down in our families hasn't been all that great parenting along the way. Maybe, though, maybe we have the honor of having the moments in which we have looked up to someone who has fathered us into being, who has recognized something in us that helped us realize our worth and dignity, something that has helped us stretch beyond conditions that may not have been so great, or helped us remain solid in a world that is needing those of us who would be able to breathe deep and have both feet on the ground to face what's in front of us. Ephesians 6 has a phrase that says, "Fathers, do not exasperate your children." Now, I don't know which translation says that. It's not in my Bible that way, but I could see it being translated that way. Colossians 3 says, "Fathers, do not embitter your children, or they will become discouraged." There's often not a whole lot about what fathers should do. There's often a whole lot in industrialized society in which fathers were removed greatly from the lives of those around them. Their job was to be the breadwinner, to go out, to write ads, work in factories, sit in a desk at the bank, fix cars, work as teachers or lawyers, do backbreaking work, repair plumbing at all hours of the day. There's a movie that received an award years ago called Crash. There's some fathers in that movie. You get the sense that some of those fathers had done really well and some not so great. There's a moment in it in which a young Hispanic father trying to provide for his family is one of those who goes out on calls, a locksmith, replacing locks. And one businessman, another father, is so upset that his business was broken into, blamed the locksmith, and came and shot him with a gun as the daughter of the man jumps into his arms. Why was the daughter not killed? I'm spoiling the movie for you, but sorry. Why? Because the daughter of the angry businessman whose business had been broken into had known that she would not trust her father. And when she bought the gun that he insisted he needed for his protection and the protection of his business, agreed to take the box, the red box of bullets. The red box of bullets were blanks. Fathers, do not exasperate your children. There are some fathers who, over time, need the children gathered around, maybe due to infirmity, maybe because the moral stance of the children would help navigate the father through his anger and his disconnect from what is real and true. It is tough being a dad. It is tough being a dad in a capitalist society in which your only value is what you can bring in to your bank account. It is tough living in a world in which the commercials are made to show you're a great dad because you've brought a gift home for the kids from your trip. Or you're a great dad if you have the best party to give to your kids. Or, as the danger of one or another politician has found, take them on a grand trip for a vacation and then find out all your constituents are angry that you left in the moment that they were needed. The dad was needed once again for everybody else but their own kids. It's tough. It's tough to be a kid of fathers who don't know that their calmness will not come from another sip on the bottle, that their centeredness does not get stabilized by hitting the people they love. I acknowledge that there are people in this room or online for whom their fathers did not know, should have known better, did not follow. But I also know that there are those of us who have had fathers who did their best, who messed up and apologized, who were there when we were crying, who when asked, "Daddy, can you put on my shoes?" didn't respond meanly, "Nope, they won't fit me." Who maybe told bad jokes or sung off key, who maybe helped us bang our thumbs a little less in learning how to hammer nails, or safely keep our hands away from saws, or put up with whatever projects always took over the workshop table. There are dads who gave us values that we hold to this day and who listened every time that we needed a loving ear. I had such a dad who made mistakes, a dad whose habits I should not have picked up. Christy will tell you I can have some of the exact same habits that exasperated me. My kids could probably say it too. But in general, they were innocuous enough. My dad's turn to doing poetry was something of a release for him after years and years of having wanted to become a writer in life, and went on to work another career all through his life. But at the very end, as he was nearing retirement and all of his kids had grown, he had some time. And he wrote. And he wrote poems, not the great novel that he thought he would be doing, but poems, deep poems. There's another one I'd like to share because it contrasts the inner workings of a father compared to his view of his father as a child. It's called car hoods rusting out back. Now you got to realize we lived in a rural area, and my brother and I had a couple of old clunkers. If you ever see a place where grass is growing up around old clunkers, or there may be spare parts laying around the lawn, imagine my dad's exasperation with that stage of our life. I've left them like headstones toppled on a grave, Pontiac hoods rusting among the weeds like two slabs of slate stained with the iron of hard questions. Rejects from my son's jalopy. Junk, I used to call them. Take 'em to the dump, I'd nag him, the way my wife carps at me, one of those things that never gets done. Then one day, we used the hoods to cover wood that we'd stacked that fall. How he teased, "See, Dad, they came in handy after all." And I laughed. And I wondered if he'd be home when the logs had aged. He might marry, leave for a job, or die. A whisper warned me from the thought, and for a moment I sensed I'd trespassed into something dark. But I didn't hold with premonitions. I believed inspiration had flooded like tinder in my brain. In my head, I composed a verse about a father grieving as he fetched this wood alone, how every log stabbed a splinter in his heart as he fed the stove. Then I saw, clear as top death on an old oak, I leapt from my thoughts as if from a flame. I ripped the poem from my mind lest my thinking fix the boy's fate. Can we glimpse through some clairvoyant window a possible future and by dwelling on it make it happen? Did I doom him with a poem? I walk out back and I can't decide. The pile of wood is ashes now, but that rusted steel remains. Take them to the dump, nags my wife, who still mistakes the hoods for junk. For anyone who's been a parent, a dad, the recognition that the horror you may in fact lose someone precious to you is something that I think you have to have grown up from childhood to finally have some reflection, maybe like Mark Twain. Wow, how much my dad has learned by the time I got to 21. To understand the burdens and the sorrows and the fears that a parent holds, carries. The frustration with children who leave their junk all over the place. And yes, I know, I laugh about it now, but it really does hurt to go out in the dark into the living room and step on a Lego. And I'm sure my parents' home thinking of how they wanted it to look and seeing old car hoods around. Frustrating. But I too, as a father, have wondered at times, what if something happened to my children? What if I had a reminder of a moment with my child? What if that bin of Legos is a splinter, as my dad had written? A splinter of pain and memory. For all of you who've actually had that happen to you, for those of you who have had the moments where you have worried, after all, Mark Twain said, many horrible things have happened to me in my mind as I worried, none of which actually happened. That's a paraphrase. He said it better than me. You understand parenting and guiding. I have no doubt that in the tutoring you've done, Bobby, as well, in the tutoring and help that others have had, and the lives of children and others who've helped someone through rough times, perhaps someone facing awful moments of life, you have learned as well the highs of being looked up to and the lows of being worried or the actual grief of the losses that you might have imagined and never wanted. So when I say Happy Father's Day, it comes with all of that, with the good and the bad, with the burdens and the sorrows and the griefs. It comes, though, with the happiness as well. Thank you to all of you who have been dads and the best that you could do. Thank you to all of you who remembered to give a call or a thought or a card in some way to acknowledge someone who parented you, whether a birth father or a chosen father. Thank you for the observance of Father's Day. Our final hymn is one that a child might, in fact, sing to a father. Hymn number 1012, When I Am Frightened. Please join. May the blessings of love be on you and follow you out into your days. May you be a light that carries the values and the love of this space and the best of who you can be. May you carry with you the knowledge that you are worthy, taught to you by someone, instilled by someone in you, that you might be strong enough to be there for others who need to hold your hand, and then come back again into this place of love and light. Blessings on all of you. Amen.